So Tommy Rees was supposed to speak to the media today. Now he's speaking tomorrow. But we're still going to talk about a Tommy Rees connection. CBS.com's latest mock draft. They said this about the Browns in relation to Jalen Milroe. They have the Browns now taking Jalen Milroe number 2 overall. I'm going to read you the little snippet here from the CBS mock draft. Quote,
What?
I know this feels way too early for Jalen Milroe, but we've had bigger surprises with quarterbacks going higher than expected in the past, and Milroe is destined to erupt at the NFL Scouting Combine. This is all about the long-term upside with the former Alabama passer and cheaper bridge quarterback can be signed in the interim. Never mind Deshaun Watson standing on the roster. He's unlikely to be physically capable of playing in 2025 anyway. So with the Tommy Rees promotion offensive coordinator, and knowing the Browns are obviously in the market for a quarterback, most likely at number 2, G, are you buying any of the rumors or buy the idea, whether or not you like it, hate it, anywhere in between, that Jalen Milroe could actually be in play for the Browns at number 2? And for anyone wondering, that was Chris Trapasso. That was his mock draft from CBS.
Listen, so this is hey, look, I'm not going to say nobody is writing stuff for clicks, but these is for clicks.
He wrote that for us again.
I think that's unfair.
But that's not fair.
I think he's guessing.
No.
He's making a guess.
If this turns out to be true, this is the greatest pool in the history of mock drafts. First of all, Jalen Milroe.
He's not the only one saying Milroe to the Browns.
There's a lot of Milroe to the Browns.
If Jalen Milroe goes to the Browns, I don't have a problem with if it's 2 through 7. But he said it's at the number 2 overall pick. Now, if you watch Jalen Milroe this year, and I watched a bunch of Alabama, this was a tough year for that man. It looked like he regressed when it came to understanding what defense
Maybe
was
that's
trying to do.
because Rees wasn't there.
And then it's a whole new offense.
It was a whole
and by the way, there was another guy that wasn't there.
Nick Saban was not there. But if you look at him throwing the football, just go back and watch that Michigan game.
Yeah, no.
I mean, and I'm not saying that he can't be a great quarterback, and I'm not knocking him. If the Browns came to me and said, all right, give me Travis Hunter, give me Abdul Carter, give me one of those 2 guys, and then Jalen Milroe, it just happens to be sitting there at the top of round 2, I had no problem with it. I'd be like, hey, go ahead, let's do it. But for me to take Jalen Milroe over Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders at this point, that to me would not be a thing that was like, I couldn't do it.
I'd be disappointed. I know you said you'd be okay if they took him. I will be disappointed if they take him. To me, period. I don't know if it was this article in the draft, but I read a mock, I think it was yesterday, that compared him to Lamar Jackson, or at least used Lamar Jackson in the same sentence.
Yes, and
that is blasphemy.
That was the other part of the question I wanted to kind of get to on Jalen Milroe.
But is it?
It is.
Lamar Jackson was drafted 32nd.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson, just go back and look at Lamar Jackson in college.
Yeah, I did. I have.
Lamar Jackson at Louisville, look, he's at Alabama. When you're at Alabama, you've got 5 stars everywhere around you.
Do they
You
still?
can't have a 16 yes. You can't have a 16 touchdown, 11 pick season at Alabama. I don't care if it's a new offense. I don't care if Nick Saban is gone. You are surrounded with talent. And I think a more appropriate comparison would be Jalen Hurts to me. I think he's more in that mold. And I don't know that he's 6'2". Do you guys think he's 6'2"? He doesn't play.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm anxious to see what the combine has him.
He's a physically built guy. I don't know if he's 6'2" or
thick.
6'1". He's a thick guy.
Now his legs, Dustin.
Yeah.
Comparing with Lamar Jackson, there's a comparison there.
Yeah.
He's electric when he's the fastest dude
both
in the
of those
field.
guys are the fastest guy in the field at all times, and they get to touch the ball. So, like, there's no doubt you'd want to have that guy on your team. Do you take him at 2? Is it worth it at 2? That I can't answer. I haven't studied these guys to know exactly who's on the top of my board. I don't have a board. I watch a lot of college football.
Yep.
It's my job.
I do too.
You know what I mean? I watch these guys play every week, and I think he's a hell of a player. I thought he was better last year, and there may be a reason why that we don't know.
Yeah.
And the one reason is probably Nick Saban and that whole staff.
Now, I do agree with the mock author when he said that he is going to absolutely dazzle with the stopwatch at the combine. And probably even his throws, I imagine, when he's throwing with no defense and no pressure.
4.35. I
But
think he's going to run
ridiculous
4.35.
arm. But I don't know, man. Now, Tommy Rees is the guy that I really want to pick his brain, not in front of a camera and a microphone, because he's going to temper all of his comments there. Because even if he is in love with Tommy Rees, he's not going to say it because they don't have the first pick. So I do think that he's the guy. If he loves him and he's telling Kevin, I'm telling you, he's the unicorn. He is Lamar Jackson. Then there's a high likelihood that they take this guy if they value what Tommy Rees tells them. But I just don't
Two is high.
know.
Two is crazy. Two is
Why is
It
it
is
crazy?
very high. I
Based
think-
on what?
Based
on mock drafts?
No, based on the way
Yeah,
he
you
played.
watch it.
Based on the way he played last year.
Well, I think here's what it's based on for me. At 2, you have to be a solidified, rock-solid slam dunk. And what's the most difficult position to project talent from level to level? To me, it's a quarterback. So if I'm the Browns and I'm holding this beautiful trump card, I can throw this and get whoever I want. I have to go with the guy that I don't even have to think about.
But what if they feel that way about Milroe? I'm not saying
If
they
they
do.
think that about
Yeah.
him, then take him.
Yeah.
But be prepared 3
Yeah.
years from now to say, my God, and the Browns could have taken Travis Hunter. They could have taken him. He was a
Right.
slam
Yeah,
dunk.
but they're not. They don't care about 3 years from now. They're trying to save their jobs for next year.
I
And if they
get
feel like
that.
Milroe is going to be the guy that comes in here and that can turn this franchise around, they better take him like now.
Yeah, but I just,
think-
man, if they think he's the guy that can turn the franchise around now,
I don't think he's-
coming off a
Jay,
16 to 11 ratio in college.
You just can't make that argument. I said it's not. It doesn't help the kid's case, but I don't know why he threw 16-11. I
you
knew
know
the
who had a-
previous year 23-6, and they
And
were
by the way,
right
that's
at
not eye popping.
damn near a natty. So
I mean, I don't know. You know, he has a better career completion percentage in college than Lamar Jackson does by a lot.
yeah.
Than Lamar Jackson did in college.
Look,
Yeah.
he's a hell of a player.
Lamar
What
Jackson.
else can I compare it to?
Well, no, I thought you
yeah.
were saying then Lamar Jackson in the NFL.
No.
I mean, you better.
But
college to the
nobody,
NFL.
there is almost nobody that thought Lamar Jackson was going to be this, if anybody.
Like,
The
listen.
Ravens did.
Like, I watched.
I don't know. I don't. If they told me they thought he was going to be this good, I wouldn't believe them.
Oh, this good? I
No.
don't know. I mean,
Obviously, they
MVP,
liked him.
multiple-time MVP. They
Yeah.
probably didn't think
you know
that.
what you can't factor into this, Dustin? You can speak to this. What you can't factor into this is want to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you right now, not only did I underestimate Lamar Jackson's want to, almost everyone I was talking to at the time underestimated Lamar Jackson's want to. Lamar Jackson has become the player that he is because this dude has put in the work. And I don't just mean physically. Last year, he felt he was a little too heavy. So what did he do? He transformed his body, which is not an easy thing to do. He got lighter so he could go back to doing what made him Lamar Jackson. And he's an MVP player.
I brought this up yesterday, and so I'll bring it up again because I think it's important with this conversation. And I'm not trying to say they should draft Jalen Milroe. And I think the fact that so there's a lot of groupthink when it comes to quarterback. I was talking with Aditi about this yesterday. Even in the NFL, there's a ton of groupthink because people are scared to get quarterback wrong.
Sure.
Right? More than if you get quarterback wrong, you often get fired, more often than not. But there's so much groupthink, and so now everybody's just, well, they hired Tommy Rees, they must be drafting Jalen Milroe. That's the only reason people are putting Jalen Milroe too, which to me doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, because he's leapfrogging the guys at 1 and 2 that pretty much are universally said to be 1 and 2.
But see, here's the thing, Jay. My problem with that statement is we don't know. When you say universally 1 and 2,
Yes.
you're basing that based on media members, not anything else.
No, I'm not.
I'm basing that on what I saw.
Okay, fine.
I am too, but also I am too, but also Bull. When you talk like the GMs aren't out there ranking these guys, we don't have access to what they think.
Right, but Jay, how do we know that half the GMs don't think Jalen Milroe is better
don't.
than both of these guys?
No,
that's all I'm saying.
Bull. To your point, we
yeah.
don't. But all we have to go on these kind of conversations,
Yeah.
go back to, this is my favorite example at the quarterback. Go back and study the Ryan Leaf, Peyton Manning draft. I am telling you, for every scout, media member, general manager that said Peyton is the guy, there was another one that said, no, it's Ryan Leaf. And they weren't wishy-washy on it. They were definitive on it. I've never seen a 1-2 at quarterback more split than that one. And it's interesting the way they played out. Now, Ryan Leaf had issues that we weren't aware of at the time, but the way Ryan Leaf's career played out is the antithesis of the way Peyton Manning's career played out. So you look back with revisionist history and say, God, how could the universe, the football universe, be so divided on something that ended up being so black and white? But oftentimes at that position, that's what you get.
Well, but that's what I'm saying is before you said you can't take him at 2 unless he's a sure thing.
Yeah.
And we know that there's a quarterback probably going to go 1, right? If you look at the six quarterbacks that I like most in the league, that I'm most excited about right now, Patrick Mahomes,
Joe Burrow,
Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and then the 2 young guys, Jaden Daniels and C.J. Stroud.
Yeah.
Only Joe Burrow of those 6 was the first quarterback taken in their draft.
Right.
None of those guys were considered sure things. None of them. And Joe Burrow, as I said yesterday, was only considered a sure thing for the last year because a year early you wouldn't even have thought of him as a first-round pick.
When you say sure thing,
because
I said when you're picking number 2 and you're void of talent in a lot of places, you have to, in my view, I know you have to weight what's the most important position. That's why everybody overreaches and goes for a quarterback. That is the most impactful position, I think, in all of sports. Quarterback.
Of course.
So obviously, you might stretch your boundaries and parameters for what you think is a sure thing if it's at quarterback. But where the Browns are, void of talent all over the field, I think what you have to do is go with the best available player.
I don't agree with that at all.
And I think it's going to be Hunter.
We talked about this yesterday. If Jaden Daniels had been on the Browns this past season and Myles Garrett had been on Washington, what would those teams of records have been?
Well, obviously you've got different things. He's not taking this Browns team to the playoffs. I don't think Jaden Daniels would have made that big of a difference.
I think he would have.
How many games do you think the Browns would have won?
The Browns won 3 games, guys. He would have had to be +8 to get them into the playoffs.
Okay, I didn't say necessarily he was going to make the playoffs. But
right.
how many
That's
games,
what I'm saying.
How many games do you think he would have won?
9.
I think they would have had a chance to be 500. They would have had a chance to be 500.
I think they would have had a good chance, which is a huge difference from 3 wins.
Now look,
it is a huge difference.
And how many wins would Washington have won? How many games?
Without him?
Yeah.
Probably 4 or 5.
Okay.
And by the way, they got better all over the field.
Nobody was saying that last year. Nobody.
Nobody was saying what?
Nobody was saying Washington was better before you knew what Jaden Daniels was. Nobody.
No.
I was the only person in America that picked them to make the playoffs.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
That's a fact.
What I'm saying is this year, they got better all over the field.
That's what everybody says now. Nobody was saying that last year because if they didn't have him, none of it would have mattered.
I'm not talking about last year. I'm talking about the additions that they made to their team.
What? Who are the additions?
They signed 20 free agents.
But who? It's so spectacular.
And by the way, their defense was 32nd last year.
I know, but
Jaden Daniels doesn't line up on the defensive side of the ball.
But their defense in 2024 was not that good.
It was a playoff caliber defense.
No, it wasn't.
Did they make the playoffs?
They made the playoffs based on their offense.
Are they still playing?
They were 16th.
It was 16.
6 mil the
Yeah,
round.
mediocre.
Okay. From 32nd?
That's a big
That's
improvement.
a huge improvement.
They did not make the playoffs because of their defense. You just said it. They wouldn't have made the playoffs without Jaden Daniels.
What I said was, you asked me, would the Browns make the playoffs just by adding Jaden Daniels?
They might.
No. They're going to win 8 more games.
They won 11 last year.
They're going to win
much worse quarterback
8
play.
more games with Jaden Daniels.
Overrate. They could, certainly.
Well,
I'm not saying it's a short thing.
I'm asking you, what would they have won?
I said yesterday I thought they'd win 8-9 games with Jaden Daniels.
And that's exactly what I said.
And
I said they would be a team that could
But part of that,
to be 500.
part of that is just because the AFC is much tougher than the
This
NFC.
topic is not Jaden Daniels. It's what are you doing at 2 with Jalen Milroe?
That's it.
Thank you.
But the point is that nobody thought Jaden Daniels was going to be this good. Nobody. Maybe Washington.
Jaden Daniels won the Heisman Trophy playing in the SEC.
Correct.
Call up his quarterback stats from his senior year.
I just think judging a guy based on touchdowns and interceptions only for 1 year in college.
Like 50 touchdowns.
Here's what I'm going to say. I'm not judging him off the touchdowns and interceptions.
Yeah.
Go back to last year. Jalen Milroe actually got benched in the first part of the season.
That's true.
He got sat down because he was struggling. He did not look comfortable. He hit his stride.
They played a game against South Florida, and it was a rainy game, and they scored like 10 points or something, and he got benched.
He got benched.
Now, he came back the next week and got his job back. And obviously they did much better. But
he for me, when I look at it, and you take a look at this year. Now, listen, I watched the Wisconsin game. They lost to Vanderbilt. They lost to Vandy. Like, that was stunning. I watched him play against Michigan, and I'm not saying that he's not an electric athlete. What I'm saying is, if you're Kevin Stefanski and you're Andrew Berry, you need somebody that's going to come in that's going to be able to do what? You got to think about what they have now and where they want to move to. They had a bunch of people this year that couldn't read defenses or didn't have a clock in their management in their head on when to throw the ball away and when not to keep the ball and when to hold the ball. Now, listen, they want to move to certain things. If it's me, I need to find the best guy that's going to fit what I can do. I want an accurate guy. I want a guy that can play on schedule. I do want some guys that are athletic back there, but I just think Jalen Milroe, if you take him, he's a project. He's more of a Richardson, like for the Colts. Like,
right.
He's
Richardson's that project may be
So,
over already.
Bull, to your point that no one said Jaden Daniels was going to have this impact. And by the way, I agree with that. No, you couldn't have projected that he was going to rewrite the rookie quarterback record book.
Right.
Nobody could have see that coming. However, he threw 40 touchdowns to 4 picks in his senior season.
Well, Josh Allen threw
playing in the exact same conference.
Josh Allen threw 16 touchdowns.
He's going to argue the talent.
What's that?
You're going to argue the talent on that one.
Well, no, I'm not. Really,
Because
with
Josh
him,
Allen didn't have great stats coming out of college.
But I think in that case, the talent is sort of apples to apples and oranges to oranges because he wasn't playing against SEC talent.
Wait, but he also...
So, and by the way...
Right, yeah.
So that's an indictment on Josh Allen for sure.
Yeah.
However, in some cases, you're looking at physical tools, especially when the competition is wonky. And I think, when you're playing where Josh Allen played, it was, I don't know how much you really learned from that. Okay, against your competition, you dominated.
Yeah.
However, when you take a guy who is playing in the elite conference, or now maybe the 1A conference in the SEC, and really the talk of the SEC being number 1A wasn't until what happened this year. Last year, I think it was widely regarded still as the best conference. He threw 40 touchdowns to 4 picks, completed almost 3 out of every 4 passes he threw. There was evidence all over this dude's game that it was transferable.
Yeah, I don't think there's a Jaden Daniels in this draft.
I wish there was.
No, I don't think there
is.
is.
We always talk about how it's luck.
That there's not another legitimate quarterback in this draft.
Most drafts, not all, have at least one quarterback that ends up being a good
Somebody going to be
They
good.
do. You're right.
Almost everyone.
Somebody going to be good.
There will be a quarterback in this draft, and you know what? It might not be the top 3.
Jay, someone in this draft is going to end up being like a Tua or a Jalen Hurts. Like guys that are going to be able to win you games and give your team a chance.
They're not going to take you to the next level. I don't think either.
Jalen Hurts.
Hey, listen,
Jalen Hurts might
one win away from a second Super Bowl.
Again,
I know he is, but I even now I think they're winning not because of him.
I think
they're winning in spite of him.
I think
they're winning with the best running game in the NFL.
We are looking at it from a perspective where it's all player centric. What are your coaches doing? Are you putting a system around him? Are you putting him in the best position to make plays? Are you accentuating what he does best? Are you minimizing what he does worst?
Right.
Like, all of these things are major points. When you see Hurts and the rest of these guys, give them credit for what they are doing with him.
I agree with you that they're not winning because of him, but I disagree that they're winning in spite of him. I don't agree with that part.
I think at quarterback, it's one or the other. I mean,
I don't agree.
I know you don't.
Yeah.
And we've talked a lot about the NFL. To win in the NFL, you got to have this superior quarterback. I think that's less true today than it used to be. And if the Eagles win, that will prove that point. And you've also said, when was the last great running back that led a team to a Super Bowl? It might be this year.
It might be.
It might be. However, with all of that being said, and I wanted to talk about this because I think Jaden Daniels he's the outlier. Did you guys see the piece on him and his use of virtual reality? And I know all the teams.
It was really cool.
It was unbelievable, Mike. This dude is getting up every day at 6 a.m. and training for hours with this virtual reality that is simulating the defense that he's going to play in the system that they use. And he's able to take 1,000,000 reps without any wear and tear on his arm or ever taking a single hit. And I knew that this technology existed even when I was at ESPN. I remember that somebody at ESPN did a piece on the virtual reality and how it's going to change the quarterback
I just saw
position.
the thing they had it there when I was there this past September.
Did you see the simulator?
Yes.
The one it's unbelievable.
So cool.
Dustin, to me, it's the equivalent to what the Guardians had that Major League Baseball felt was such an advantage. They had to shut it down during games. So the Guardians have this $1 million pitching machine that has video display of every pitcher in the major leagues and then throws exactly what they throw, RPM-wise, pitch-wise, velocity-wise, location-wise. And Major League Baseball said, yeah, you can no longer use that during the game.
They spend more on a video machine than they do on the roster.
I was about to say the same thing.
It might be the most expensive thing they have.
Might be the most valuable.
But it
Jose
probably
Ramirez,
is.
Austin Hedges video machine.
Hey,
You know, oddly enough, pitchers pitch to an Austin Hedges video machine to try to figure it
I
out.
just think you got to get lucky. I'm gonna just be honest.
That's
with
true
you.
to some
I'm gonna be
degree,
honest with
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
When you look at
There's a lot more luck, I think, than skill.
I
You never
mean,
know what's in a guy's heart.
Burrow and Herbert and Lamar Jackson and Allen, all of them, they don't be on pitching machines. Some of them do something. Some of them wake up the day before and feel dangerous. Who knows? You just got to if you get lucky and find that dude,
Yeah.
it can overshadow all that.
Can we bow it with this? You're the Browns. You're on the clock at number 2. And you can play this however you want to play it with who Tennessee is going to take. I am told, well, I'll just say it. Bernie told me this through some people that
Try snitching.
Tennessee loves Cam Ward.
That's the smoke so far.
And listen, if you're an organization, you're not going to tell anybody who you really love.
Right.
You're just not. Now, you still control the deck, but you might be able to trade if you find out someone else loves Cam Ward. You might be able to use that to greatly enrich your draft. But let's just take all that out of the equation. You can factor in who you think Tennessee is going to take, and I think they are going to take Cam Ward. With that in mind, if you think they're going to take Shedeur, then you take Shedeur off the board. Who are you taking if you're Andrew Berry? Whose name is on the card that you're turning in?
If I'm Andrew Berry and I believe that whether it's Shedeur Sanders or Jalen Milroe or Will Howard or whoever it is, if I believe there's a quarterback in this draft,
I know, but
that I think is going to be a Super Bowl caliber quarterback, which for me is a tier 1 or tier 2 quarterback, which all of the 4 quarterbacks remaining are either tier 1, tier 2, in my opinion. Then I would draft him at 2, even if I think there's 10 prospects better.
With all
than him.
due respect, I'm going to play G here.
Yeah.
I respect that, but you're just giving the Browns advice on what to do with that pick. I didn't ask you to advise them.
You said what you going to do.
You're Andrew Berry.
Yeah, I would draft a quarterback.
No, I know,
Yeah.
but which quarterback?
I'll pick a name, but I'm going to admit, in all honesty, that I'm really not qualified to judge who's better
that's
because
fair.
I don't know the players well
fair.
enough.
Yeah.
But if you put my feet to the fire right now, I'd take Shedeur Sanders at 2.
Okay.
I'm taking Cam Ward.
Well, but
No.
they're saying Cam
Oh,
Ward's
so
okay.
no,
sorry.
No, but he might think that Tennessee's
okay.
going to take
You think
Shedeur.
I think Tennessee is going to take Shedeur Sanders because they need to sell tickets.
Are you taking Ward
I
or
personally-
Shedeur either way or no?
No, I mean I'm really torn because I like Cam Ward a lot more than I like Shedeur
I do
Sanders.
too. I'm with you.
And if Shadeur's there, I don't have enough intel to say I would just take him.
Yeah.
Because I do like Milroe, and I also think that like Will Howard in the 3rd round is someone you want to look at.
Sure.
The Jackson Dart kid at Ole Miss,
Yes.
3rd round.
And you might be able to get them with your 2nd or 3rd pick.
Who else are we talking about? It could be a 2nd round pick. There was someone else.
Curtis
We had a
Rourke
list on
could
Monday.
be
Who's that
Quinn
again?
Ewers.
Quinn
Ewers.
Ewers,
Yeah,
Curtis
yeah.
Rourke, Dylan
Jason
Gabriel.
actually, I think, didn't dismiss
Yeah,
that.
I mean, but so I just think if you're there at 2 and your guy's not there, you don't just take the best one. You got to take someone you love.
So your player is?
at 2 or my quarterback?
No, your player at 2.
Assuming that
you're
Cam's
Andrew
gone?
Berry.
Yeah.
Who did
Go.
the Titans take, and then who does that leave you?
I'd say the best tackle, or Abdul Carter.
Okay, that's not a bad pick.
Here's what's going to happen. I think Shedeur Sanders is actually going to leapfrog Cam Ward because they're going to say in Tennessee we need some punch. If they're equal, I'm taking.
So they want the glitz.
They want the glitz. They'll be on TV 5-6 times a year.
Yeah.
Let's give me Shedeur Sanders. Now they'll take him. Now you're on the clock. I think that I like Cam Ward better than Shedeur Sanders.
Okay.
So I'll run to the podium and be like, Cam Ward at number 2.
Right. Okay, so all that being said, I believe that Tennessee is going to take Cam Ward, and I believe that the Browns should take at that point, because there are guys like Jackson Dart and and this sounds like a Buckeye Homer thing, but I've watched Will Howard over the last 4 games throw dots.
Yeah, he was great.
I like
And
his
I
size.
realize how
And you know
big
what
he
else
is.
I
He's
like?
huge.
I like his ability to run the football.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking in a Lamar
Jackson. He's like a
kind of
more
way.
athletic Big Ben. I mean, he's 6'4", 235.
That's a really good analogy. So, I've got to take a player that I know is going to come in and change life right away. And I don't know that, especially if Cam is gone at 1. And I don't even think Cam is that guy if he's not gone. But if Cam is gone at 1, I think the safe play is Travis Hunter, a guy that you know is going to be a star at the next level. At that position, I think talent transfers much more with a higher percentage of certainty than it does at quarterback. Take the guy. I don't hate your pick because I think that's another player who's absolutely going to transfer to the next level.
And you'd have Myles Garrett.
Oh my God. And I salivate at the thought of what that could bring.
We're going to talk about the Travis Hunter to Browns mock draft and a little later in the show. Mel Kiper put that out this morning.
Okay, that's fine.
But there are certain
It
people.
would be.
There are certain people I'm completely out on. Do not talk to me about a left tackle, and do not talk to me about no defensive tackle. Get up off my line. You better come away with Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, or a quarterback. Leave the rest of that stuff
save
alone.
that when we get to
And that's
Mel
good.
Kiper's.
One last thought. Consider this, people. Once upon a time, the Browns had Ben Roethlisberger in their lap, an Ohio kid that they passed on. And the Pittsburgh Steelers drafted his ass and beat our ass for 20 years with him. If you're one of these Browns fans saying, oh my God, Will Howard, first of all, go look at his stats and go watch again the highlights of the 4 playoff games. All pressure. This dude is pressure tested. He's beaten 6 of the other 9 top 10 teams. And
Now, part of the equation, Jay, has to be the absurd talent he has around him.
absolutely, just like I said before, when you're playing at an LSU and you're Jaden Daniels, you've got the talent. When you're at Alabama and you're
Jalen Milroe doesn't have the talent around him that Will Howard does.
I wouldn't say that.
no, listen, he was out of Alabama.
To be fair, he did have to go up against a really talented Notre Dame defensive line, a really talented Texas defensive line, with a really banged up offensive line.
So if he's that good, draft him at 2.
So that's
Draft
my
him at
point.
2.
Is it should show you that the
Draft
kid.
him at 2.
Listen, if you like him and you're convinced,
Unacceptable.
because how about this? Are you going to be okay with the Steelers taking him with their first pick? Because guess what they need?
Because they would take quarterback.
I will not.
And you know this more than anyone. What program does Pittsburgh
They love
love to
Ohio State
poach
Buckeyes.
players from?
Look at some of the greats.
The
that
line
they've
from
had,
Columbus to Pittsburgh is a well-blazed trail. And you know what? When they draft these guys, even I'll throw Mike Vrabel in there too. A lot of people say, well, Vrabel didn't really hit for them. Vrabel didn't hit for them because Bill Cowher thought he was a different player than what he was. Bill Belichick knew all along what he was. But even Vrabel, and go through the list. The list is long and distinguished of guys that Pittsburgh has drafted from Ohio State. Some of them are going to the Hall of Fame.
Antonio Holmes. We got Hayward.
Hayward is still playing at a Pro Bowl level.
Shazier is another one.
It's unprecedented. And in the meantime, name the Browns. Name the Buckeyes that have gone to Cleveland and had these.
Oh yeah, I mean,
First of all, they've only drafted a handful
Brian
in their
Robisky.
history.
Probably unfairly, there's part of me that's worried he's Cardale Jones.
Who?
Will Howard.
I don't look at him in that mold at all.
Carl didn't play college
second
football.
through 3.
I mean,
We
Will Howard's
look
played
at
for like
second,
years.
third round.
There's nobody
Third round.
there's no quarterback the Browns could draft at 2 that I would rip them for. None. Nobody.
Are you
Not even
crazy?
Will
I
Howard?
tend to agree with you.
Yeah.
Oh
No.
hell
Will
no!
Howard?
Oh hell to
Including
the
Will
no!
Howard, 100%.
Oh hell no! Adam the Bull.
All right,
We're
we'll
not
come
doing
back.
that.
We're going to talk about
Just remember that I said this. If you don't take him and the Steelers end up with Will Howard and we get Ben part 2.
All it's going to take is 1 week of hype on NFL Network, and all we're sitting here doing is talking about Will Howard going at 2.
Yeah.
You're right. You know why? Because the media talks these things into existence.
100%.
You know what they tried to talk into existence?
these idiot coaches
Deion
listen to
Sanders
us.
coaching the Dallas Cowboys. They wanted that so badly they were salivating on live TV.
I
won't be doing
100% believe, and I'll believe
will
this to
not.
the day I'm dead, that Dustin Fox and I got Odell Beckham Jr. to the Browns. I believe that. We were banging the table for it for a month before it happened.
Oh.
It had not been talked about in this town before we started talking about it.
Well,
we talked about it every day.
so I can
We
blame
made
you
it happen.
for that.
Blame us.
Okay.
It's our
Yeah.
fault.
I had blamed
It
the
didn't work
Browns.
out.
We effed
Don't
it
blame
up,
the
man.
Browns. Blame us.